All right, the weather has turned, the rain has moved out, and things are starting to dry out. So that means today we start on the wall. Let's get to it. All right, so today we're going to start on the retaining wall that's going to separate the lower patio from the upper patio. It's going to be a very small wall. It's only a couple courses high, just enough to prevent me from having too steep of a grade across the patios. So I've gotten a start on it. So the first step is put down some of the landscape fabric in your trench. That's just to make sure that the rock you're putting in isn't going to sink into your soil, your subsoil, your clay. And then I went ahead and set up some forms. So just simple 2x6s with some stakes, and I've screwed together. And so the forms are level all the way across the entire length of the wall. So that helps a lot, because then you know exactly where the top of your rock needs to be, and it creates it really easy to get a smooth, level, uniform base for your walls. And I'll tell you, if you take the time to do this right, your first course, which is typically the longest, most time-consuming course in putting up a retaining wall, will go much smoother and much quicker. And then another trick is, once you get the rock pretty close to the top of the form, like here, you can use some rigid PVC like this and get a level, and go ahead and put some rock under your pipe until until the pipe is level with your form. Do that at one end, and then do that at this end as well. And then all you have to do is come in, dump rock into this area, and then all you got to do is use a level or some other piece of board maybe, and discrete across your form and that rigid conduit. And that's a real quick way to get a nice level, flat base for your wall stones. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. I've got this pretty much finished here. I'm going to go continue down the rest of this way and get this done, and then we'll check back. Okay, the base is in. I think we're ready to start putting some blocks in. So a recap of what I did: used 2x6s for my form, and then used 3/4 inch crushed limestone with the fines, and used that in 2-inch lifts. And then I used compacted, went over it 3 times with the compactor in that each lift, and then added another layer, compacted, another layer, compacted. And I used the technique where I used the 2x6 on the form, and I put this rigid conduit then in the back. Then I used my 4-inch level and screeded when I got close the top layer, and that gets it really close to being exactly flat and level. There's gonna be some small deviations as I go, and that's what this is for. So I have a bucket off the tractor here of some of the 3/4 inch mines, just in case I have any spots I need to lift up for any reason. I have that there ready to go. I got the pallets on the tractor with 10 blocks on a pallet at a time, so I've got those ready to go. And then I have this here, which is basically rock dust, really fine rock particles. And this you can screed really thin. And so I'm going to be using this in the places to really get a smooth, surface. Probably about, an 1/8 1/4 inch thick of this on the tops of the surface here where needed. So that's the plan. Then I got my lines. See the pink strings here? So those are my lines. Okay, so how I set my lines. So this first line, as I mentioned, I set in offsetting the pool, and so that's the edge of the patio, and I wanted the wall to be 90 degrees off of that line. So I've put my pin in here where I wanted roughly the back of the wall to be. And again, you want the string to be on the back of the wall because the back of the blocks are flat and you can make sure they're in a nice line. Front of the wall, you can't necessarily do that quite as easily. And so then I put that pin there, I ran my line, and I stuck it the other end out past the wall into the lawn over there, roughly where I thought maybe 90 degrees would be. And then you take the point where these two cross and you measure out 6 inches and you mark the string there. Or sorry, not 6 inches, 6 feet. And then you take the same on the other string and you measure out 8 feet here. And then you measure from that mark to this mark. And you want that distance to be exactly 10 feet. And if that distance is exactly 10 feet, then that means these two lines are perpendicular to each other. And these lines here I've measured, and they are exactly 10 feet from those marks. So I know I have a nice straight line here, straight line there, and they're exactly 90 degrees off. So I think I'm set. So I'm going to go ahead and set the camera up and get stacking some blocks. Let's get to it. All right, so here's an update on this wall. So I was able to get the first course completed, and I was reminded just how much I despise retaining walls. This is my third wall I've done on the property, and man, no matter how much work you put into preparing that base with the forms, you screeded it, man, each block still takes quite a bit of work to get it just right. Level, both left to right and front to back, you know, all the way down. And that's critically important on a wall like this, that you know, you don't want any gaps. You don't want your blocks to shift at all. So it took a lot of time, took quite a few hours to get it to this point. Went ahead and put in some drainage. 1 inch crushed limestone is what I used along the back here. There's a perforated tile pipe in that. You can see I have my low voltage wire roughed in here for some lighting that we're going to do. Got my drain. That 90 is not welded on yet. That'll point the other direction, but I got my drain there for the grate drains I'm going to use. And the wall will end right here. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to get some other things done to figure out where my final grade over here is going to be, and then I'll either add a half block onto this block here to end the row, or I'm going to pull this one up and actually cut this block depending on where the grade is. But yeah, so that's pretty much done. So today, before I go much higher, so the thing with this wall is you need the first block to be below grade, and my below grade is actually going to be when the pavers are in, because the pavers are going to come up to about right here on this wall, and that'll, once the pavers are all in, that's what locks this wall from shifting forward. But right now, without the paver patio being in, there's not a lot that's keeping that wall where it is, other than the weight of the blocks. And so I've added a little bit of gravel in front of the blocks to help keep them where they are, so they don't want to push forward on me. But I don't want to press my luck too much, so I'm not going to add the second row and backfill it, because this top of the second row is actually going to be the height of the top patio. I don't want to add that and compact it because I'm afraid the wall might start pushing out on me. So what I want to do is focus in getting this bottom patio done. And so what we're doing today is digging the footings for our steel. We're going to put up a steel pergola. And so I've marked out the footing locations that I need. So what I want to do is get these footings dug out and the cement poured with the forms. And once those are in, then I can pull these forms off of the wall, and then bring rock in for the whole patio. And that way I can get those forms off and start compacting and get the pavers in, hopefully in the next few days here. That way though, that wall will be firmly in place, and then I can work on finishing the upper patio. So far so good. And once I get these forms dug out, we'll check back